Hi, it's me again, one half of Party Trick Astrology, on again a night of editing. I just wanted to let you guys know if you're confused as to why this video is starting with Saturn, it's because I split them up because it's a long video. So if you're looking for a personal planet in the 7th house, that's Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, or Mars. That's going to be in the first video we uploaded. The link will be down below. But this video starts off with Saturn with no introduction because we weren't expecting to split it up. But this is Saturn through Pluto, aka the more generational planets in the 7th house. And yeah. Okay, let's go! Hopefully this is the last time you see me. In this setting, of course. Please come back. We love you. Okay, bye. Saturn in the 7th house. We've known quite a lot of people with this one, though. Yeah. Every relationship that comes into your life, it's like you can't get a break. You always gotta learn a fucking lesson from them. Just lesson 11. You can never just have a friendship and then go on with your life. No. It's something's gotta da-da-da, brings up all these issues, and this is a lesson, and it crumbles, and it's gotta stay in restrictions, and relationships feel so restricting.
Yeah, I find that these people are typically quite insecure of never having been in a relationship until they're later in life.
Yeah.
Because Saturn is gonna put you through those lessons. Even if you're in, relationships, you're not going to have that, title relationship. You didn't go to prom with anyone special. Homecoming.
What is a date?
Didn't go to...
What's a date?
Yeah.
What's romance? Everybody was pairing up and you weren't.
Yeah, Saturn is going to restrict that part of your life, your relationship life. I mean, it's not going to restrict it in the terms of, it'll put you through them for the sake of learning them, but they're just not going to be great.
And it's not going to be easy. It's going to feel not as fun as friendships and relationships should feel.
And what's especially frustrating to you as the Saturn in the 7th house person is that you are looking for something serious.
Committed and
forever. Long term. Yeah. And it's not going to be given to you so easily.
No, it's definitely not. But that's why it probably will be given to you, is because you're going to be in such a long-winded, desperate search, and you won't take anything but the best, and you won't take anything but the long-term and committed. Well, maybe when you were younger you did, but I'm saying, what'll happen after time, will condition you to be like, I've learned all these lessons, I'm a stronger person because of all these things experiences I didn't have, or because of all these lessons I learned, So when you're older, I think it is a little bit of a promise that you'll find somebody when you're older.
Yeah.
Because you've gone through the ringer, you're not going to make any silly mistakes anymore. You know what you're looking for after a long time.
You might not even go through that many silly mistakes because you might be impeding yourself from getting into a relationship.
So you might not go through any silly mistakes, and that could be the downfall.
Because you are holding out for that absolute person. And that's not necessarily going to be in your favor, because if you are waiting to just find the absolute perfect person that you can settle down with long term forever, and you won't even kiss someone before you find that person, then you're going to be missing out on the lessons that you have to learn in order for you to be in that actual state of mind, state of maturity to be ready to actually be in a relationship that will go on forever.
Yeah. Saturn in the 7th house also might feel like everybody's so much more responsible than you. Everybody's so much more mature than you. You're the little one. You might be a little bit insecure. You feel like you don't know what the world really has to offer, in the sense of you don't know what people are capable of, maybe, or you may just feel like all of your hardships are going to be invalidated because of hardships other people are going through. And you might feel like your dad was probably the person that said, oh, but what about other people? Maybe what about your sibling? Maybe what about your mother? Maybe what about me? Maybe what about your classmates? What about the rules? What about regulations? But you can't do that. That's not in line with the law. You know what I mean? We know somebody was Saturn in the 7th house and her dad was a cop.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then you're also likely going to date people that are older than you. And that is another way of validating that feeling of always being the little one, of always not being responsible enough. Because even though in that relationship dynamic you are still the little one, you are still the one who does not know as much as the other person, you see yourself as, I'm mature enough to be with someone who is older.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's validating your, look at me, I am mature and responsible enough to date someone 10 years my senior.
Yeah, exactly. Because there can be definitely the insecurity complex about that. Saturn in the 7th house, you might feel like your father invalidated you.
Yeah.
Or you just can feel like you were maybe a little bit forgotten about and he put other people first.
Or he put a lot of pressure for you to be in nothing but a forever long, stable relationship.
Yeah. These are people that if they ever slip up morally are gonna get a lot of shit for it.
Yeah.
These, because people see your morals, people see how streamlined you keep yourself, and people go, don't you slip. And so you really can't get away with much when Saturn is on any of your angular houses. And in Saturn in the 7th house, you're going to get in trouble by your peers. Like, you might be somebody where your peers might snitch you out, or they're going to just point the finger at you really fast, and you're just like, hey, can I get a break, guys? Come on.
You think you don't have to be responsible.
Yeah.
You think that other people can't see that, or you don't see, like, responsibility. Why do I have to do it? Maybe this is the whole, like, daddy thing of when you were younger, you were always babied and never really, you know, you were the baby, you didn't know as much, you didn't have to be as responsible as much. Then you date someone who's 10 years your senior, like, look, I actually am responsible enough to be with someone who is older than me. But if you don't get to the point of validating that part of yourself, you might end up thinking like, well, I don't have to be responsible.
They'll be it for me.
Yeah.
I want a daddy. I want a sugar daddy.
I'm baby.
That's Saturn sometimes the ultimate like daddy, sugar daddy position.
Oh, 100%.
Like sugar mama, whatever it is. Daddy, I say as a very gender neutral term.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Daddy, zaddy.
Because it's just that Saturn presence. Anyways, let's get on to Jupiter in the 7th house, shall
Jupiter
we?
in the 7th house.
Oh, we have this.
Yeah, we do.
Oh. These people are going to be great to be friends with.
Yeah. I mean, they're just the best friends you could ever ask for.
But it's true, because any luck that a Jupiter in the 7th house person gets, they don't want to enjoy it by themselves. They want to share it. I've always been in the sense of like, if I get any little thing, I'm going to want to share as much as possible, because then that's what makes it fun. That's what gifts are about, giving.
Exactly.
You know, and I think Jupiter in the 7th house is a pretty lucky placement, because you get luck by giving luck. And Jupiter in the 7th house will naturally want to give luck.
Yeah.
And so ever since I was a child, I've definitely always had in my mind is like, the nicer you are to people, the more you give to people, and the more that they'll give you back. Not emotionally, but can just be something as simple of like, hey, I'll buy you food. You know that person will buy you food again. And it's that kind of thing.
It's really like Sagittarius carefree kind of energy.
Yeah,
you're not like you owe me, I owe you. It's totally just like sharing
you give
caring.
what you can,
Yeah, and when we're around each other, we really do like to indulge.
Yeah.
We really just like to go out, especially eating. Like, oh my god.
We can eat together.
We can eat a lot together. We can spend a lot of money on food.
Yeah.
That is our choice of money spending, is on food together.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
Yeah, definitely.
This also is such an interesting placement because it's one of the most obvious manifestations that I've seen in my chart and in Shaina's chart, because I never really got it, but I always read Jupiter in the 7th house, you will find fame through a partner.
Oh,
and I was always like, I'm gonna become a famous actress and then date someone like Ryan Reynolds, and we'll be like that power couple, we'll make each other more famous, blah, blah, blah. In reality, what happened is I met Shaina.
Sorry, no Ryan Reynolds here.
And we started this YouTube channel.
Yeah, and we boosted each other up.
And it's especially cool because it is of a spiritual nature.
Yeah, and it is teaching.
Jupiter
it is a teaching nature.
Teaching and learning.
And
that's...
friendships and relationships, you're like, what can this person teach me? How can I grow? Jupiter in the 7th house grows so much through other people because it's a very open energy, of course, and it's very big and it's very welcoming. And it's very much like Jupiter in the 4th house would be like, come on in, wipe your feet, enter my home. Jupiter in the 7th house does it with themselves.
Yeah.
They're like, come on in, wipe your feet. What do you got to bring to my life? What have you got to bring to my life? I've got some stuff to teach you. Let me teach you some things.
Let's just make each other bigger and better.
Yeah.
And it's so like, it's not... you know, Saturn-y, where it's like, let's make each other better.
No.
It's not like Virgo-y, like, let's make each other better. It's just like, let's it's just a really joyful thing to bring to relationships.
Not to roast, but I have the perfect example of the Saturn bettering versus the Jupiter bettering. So a few years ago, like when Nina went vegan, she told me and a friend, and I have Jupiter in the 7th house, and the other friend has Saturn in the 7th house, and she was like, so I'm vegan. And the friend with Saturn in the 7th house,
she was mad at me.
Her immediate response was, you're restricting me. This is gonna restrict me because we're living together.
Yeah.
And my immediate response was, oh my god, maybe I'll go vegan because Nina's vegan. This is great. I have somebody in my life to influence me to do a good thing. And I remember this passing thought, and then I just kept on going with my life.
Yeah.
and that's, I think, the difference.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously in friendships. In romantic relationships, obviously, if you both have Jupiter in the 7th house, it's going to be a lot of teaching and learning from both of each other. If only you have Jupiter in the 7th house, you're likely going to attract mentor type of partners in romantic relationships or otherwise. If you have Jupiter in the 7th house, you likely had a very strong mentor kind of relationship with someone at some point in your life. Like if you can think of a teacher that really influenced you, or if you can just think of a pattern of teachers that really influenced you.
I had very influential teachers.
Yeah, me too. On the internet, like Jenna Marbles is a huge inspiration to me, for example. Yeah, you're gonna attract mentorship type of relationships, but I think the most fun is when you have Jupiter in the 7th house and they have Jupiter in the 7th house, just teaching and learning.
Yeah.
And eating.
I will say the thing with Jupiter in the 7th house, though, is that growing up you can feel very unlucky. Well, I have Jupiter in Capricorn, so I might be very biased. I felt like I didn't have control over my luck. I feel like everybody knew where their luck would come from, and and mine was very much dependent on other people, and you feel like you can't get it yourself. So that's when people come in and they turn around and they'll show you your good luck. And I think that's very true. And I think that there can be times where you feel like if you're more alone you are, the more unlucky you're going to be, unfortunately. And then you can get into these situations where you need other people to almost validate your luck. I have always loved watching documentaries because it shows me how lucky I am. Does that make sense? Like, obviously for the educational purposes, but also just for gratitude purposes, just to be able to recognize my own luck, because you need something or somebody else to show you how lucky you are.
And a lot of times it even takes a very near-death experience for you to actually wake up and be like, damn, I'm actually really lucky. This is why I like relationships with people that also have Jupiter in the 7th house, is that sometimes there is an imbalance of power of other people really taking advantage of the good nature and givingness that you bring to relationships.
Oh yeah, Jupiter is never ending.
Exactly.
So you have like a never ending potential to give almost. And people can see that.
But Jupiter in the 7th house is also going to attract learning.
People. Yeah, and learning,
You do have to be careful, because sometimes if you don't snap yourself out of a bad situation, someone can easily take advantage of you. Uranus?
Yeah.
Oh!
Will you hate me if I take a bite of my food?
No. You want to eat on camera?
Do you mind?
Sure.
I'll be quiet.
Uranus in the 7th house. This is something that I find difficult because it really seems to contradict my Venus in the 7th house. Where Venus in the 7th house is the promise of peace and harmony and love that you will find, Uranus is the promise of chaos. And I've really had to call myself out in the fact that I will not pursue perfectly good relationships if they're not interesting enough. If there isn't
too boring, too run of the mill.
Yeah, this idea that is commonly talked about, it's like the cocktail party. You've been on what, like 4 dates with this person? But then you flash forward to like date 55, you're at a cocktail party, you're in a ball gown, they're in a tux. Or maybe you're in a tux and they're in a ball gown. Or maybe you're both in ball gown. You know what I mean? And
or you're wearing fancy clothes.
And you're talking about how you guys met. I often think back to perfectly fine people who did not do too much wrong for me to cut them out completely from my life. But if I were to fast forward to that cocktail party, the story would not have been interesting enough for me. It's Uranus, so it has to be a little unique. It has to be a little like shocking. It has to be a little like, whoa, wow, that's crazy. That's a real story. It's not just like, yeah, we met on set and then he asked me out once and then he asked me out again and then we became boyfriend and girlfriend. No, that's not going to cut it for me. I've even realized that I'm done with someone once the drama is over. I'm really calling myself out on this. It's not a hard and fast rule. I mean, it all depends on the person, but there's just gotta be something interesting to the
something stimulating, something keeping it up,
something a little crazy. The people that you're going to attract are going to be unconventional in some kind of way, and more than anything, if you're going to get involved in a romantic relationship, you absolutely need to be with someone who provides something that none of your other relationships provide.
Right.
Otherwise,
everybody has to be
thank you
different.
Next. Not every 7th house person in general will be on a date and think, do I like this person? A lot of people are typically, do they like me?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Uranus in the 7th house is going to prioritize, do I like this person because this person needs to provide something that I can't provide myself, that my friends can't provide for me, needs to provide something different. Because Uranus is very independent, it's going to give you that independent streak in relationships, and it's going to give you a very high threshold for what you're gonna kind of expect. Not necessarily in the Saturn way of like, you need to make this much and be this old and have these many
the opposite
credits.
Of that.
It's like, you have to just be exciting, please. Remember, I was going out with this guy and I was like, but Shaina, do you really think that I can be with someone from Michigan?
And I was like, no.
Michigan.
No. Also with Uranus in the 7th house, these are people that don't see they're crazy. These are people that like, everybody else is erratic, everybody else is insane, everybody is fucking off the wall. I'm the sane one. And everybody else would be like, no, they're the crazy one. And like we said, neither is true.
So when you have Uranus in the 7th house and you're single, life is a lot easier, honestly, because when you're in that relationship, that's when those feelings of chaos get triggered, even your own insecurities get triggered. You realize how much you actually have wrong with you. It's so much easier when your Uranus isn't being like pushed in front of your face to think like, oh, I'm fine, I'm chill. I'm not complicated at all. Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God, feelings. And
it just brings up a lot of erratic emotion.
Yeah. You can also really easily attract chaotic or crazy people into your life, and honestly, you wouldn't have it any other way. You're not gonna date a boring dude. You're just not.
You'd rather have that excitement.
No one can be from Michigan, sorry.
It's true. It's a fact and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
On to Neptune. We both have this. So Neptune in the 7th house, you're going to be disillusioned by people, by others.
For sure.
You're going to definitely have a cloudy view of people, so these are going to be very trusting people. It's people that you can easily take advantage of. Neptune in the 7th house is going to do the classic thing of, I'm not delusional. Everybody else is delusional. And you don't see how delusional you actually are until somebody comes and brings around and is like, this is what you think, this is what you want, this is your reality, and you're like, oh!
In my memory, was a lot more sane.
Yeah, that was very sane before you came in here and just kind of
rocked my world.
Yeah. You're going to be very attracted to very dreamy people that have an air of mystery around them, people that you're not quite sure who they are. And I think that adds to that, like, you want somebody a little bit intriguing, and you want somebody that probably maybe is more on the fringe of things, like on the fringe of society, because Neptune is so not in this world. So you do not want like some kind of conformity, which sounds like Uranus, but
it's an outer planet, you know?
Yeah.
Just like Uranus is an outer planet, Neptune is like way out there, you know? Yeah. It is out there.
It's not in this world.
Now here's the thing. Its greatest strength is also its biggest weakness. And it's because Neptune is absolutely boundless with emotional, watery feelings of love. Neptune in the 7th house, or conjunct Venus, is going to bless you with the ability to love people so unconditionally.
Yeah.
And
just
so boundlessly.
Over flaws.
Exactly. That's where the issue comes in, is that like, who are you choosing to love unconditionally? What are you accepting into your life because you can just put on rose-tinted glasses?
Yeah. Okay, so maybe when you're growing up, your sensitive, spiritual, maybe a little bit delusional side was denied. You had to probably be a lot more logical, a lot more in this world than most people, and you were told probably that you can't have these fantasies. And so because of that, you're going to let whoever comes into your life have those fantasies, be a little bit delusional, and you're gonna give them this endless love. Neptune in the 7th house is the best at accepting the other person's flaws, is what I'm trying to say. And that can be great because if you choose somebody that's good for you and you can love them and you can accept their flaws. If you are able to recognize your Neptune in the 7th house, you are able to then recognize their flaws as things that might be flaws, but that's okay because it comes with them. You know what I mean? And it's okay as long as it's their flaws. But then that can go into, like, when I was younger, my friends were never wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if I pick somebody, that's because they were just always right 100% of the time, and because I couldn't trust myself, I would just trust them. They can do no wrong, and so you can back up and defend people that are doing wrong because you're so caught up in the mysticism of that is them.
It can be really difficult to deal with someone who has Neptune in the 7th house if you're their friend and they're in a toxic relationship, because Neptune in the 7th house operates completely from the heart and from intuition. You can't really shake them with facts or shake them with wake up and look at.
You're like, well, you don't understand the love that we have.
Exactly. Or I wouldn't feel this type of way towards someone if they weren't worthy of my love. We don't just fall for anyone because there's a threshold of a kind of spiritual connection that we need to have with someone in order to fall in love with them.
Yeah, you need to feel that kind of otherworld Pisces thing that immediately made you guys gravitate towards each other. Like me and Nina definitely had a very much like we gravitated towards each other.
We were just like
Neptune in the 7th house is being like, we're 2 Neptune in the 7th house.
It was just so obvious. I'm just like, we are best friends now.
And you want somebody who will open up your mind to different things. You are going to go into relationships with people kind of with almost no expectations other than having the expectation of getting something new that you couldn't access before. And you might feel like you're not a very spiritual person, or that you're not a very like head in the clouds kind of dreamy person until other people talk about their experiences, or until you're shown it, and then you go, wow, I really am quite a Neptunian kind of personality. I definitely realized that through honestly reading people's birth charts. I just didn't realize how strong my Neptune was until I started reading people's birth charts and realized how not strong other people's Neptunes are. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And I went through a lot of holding in my passion for astrology and spirituality a lot in my life before it really became validated from other people. In fact, we were ridiculed a lot for our interests in astrology and spirituality. We always validated each other on it.
And I think that's where our confidence comes from.
Yeah.
Of like, yes, you're into astrology and you know astrology. We kind of like tell that to each other.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, okay, and then we can go in the room.
And we're good at it. We got
it, yeah.
And you validate us too.
And that's why we're very much, I think, both in that mindset of like, this channel wouldn't exist if the other did not exist. Like, we would not have this channel ourselves because we both have Neptune in the 7th house. You know?
The magical thing about Neptune in the 7th house is finding someone or people who can really open you up to a whole new kind of world that you never identified yourself with. Whereas I've always been a very spiritual person. I'm a pretty sober Sally. I attract people.
We both do.
Yeah, with substance issues.
Yeah.
Like crazy. And I mean, the first time that I was with someone who was just like absolutely so far in that rabbit hole, it was so intriguing to me. I was just like, wow, this world is so crazy. It's so foreign.
Because you would never be able to introduce it to yourself. You'd have to have somebody else introduce it to you.
And I was so intrigued by this person for just bringing me into that world that I felt like was so foreign to me. And it was so cool, you know? And so you can attract people who have substance issues because it's totally fucking Pisces.
Also because there's also that thing of like saving the other person. Oh, I'll save them. They'll be okay in my arms kind of situation.
And that's actually a psychological thing that can happen. Obviously, the 7th house just reiterates something in psychology where you do want to repeat things in your relationship, especially if things go wrong in previous relationships. You want to repeat it with someone else because you feel like you can fix it again.
Yeah.
If you are with a guy who has serious substance issues and you couldn't fix him before having to break up with him, you're gonna subconsciously attract someone else who has substance issues because your subconscious, your ego is like, fix it this time.
Yeah.
Do over. Or if you're above that, then you can attract someone who shows that kind of Neptune quality in a different kind of way, but you are maybe gonna be dangerously attracted to a kind of dreamy Pisces scene that is not necessarily the best. Also, another thing in psychology is that you subconsciously can gravitate towards people who reflect your relationship with your most complicated parent because you are also wanting to redo that relationship. And with Neptune in the 7th house, that might come about with one parent being very distant and you being attracted to people who are kind of distant or unattainable in some kind of way because you want to attain and grasp their attention in a way that you were never able to with your parent or with a former lover.
Also, a funny thing that me and Nina had a conversation once, and this is very much too like Neptune in the 7th house is talking to each other. We were talking about like people we went to school with, and we were like, coming from you two Neptune in the 7th who know about it, why do we feel like we're the only people at the school not disillusioned by everybody? You know what I mean? Like why, like so many people get so caught up in da-da-da-da, and I think it is that thing of like 2 Neptunes in the 7th, showing you to the Neptune 7th, and then being like, okay. And it's one of those things where it's like, we're not wrong, but we're not right again. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's because of our disillusionment and our awareness of our disillusionment that we're going to be so much more determined than almost anybody else to not be disillusioned by people because of that awareness. Because once you become aware of what's in your 7th house, you're going to become hyper aware of it and be like, oh fuck, I need to make sure. And it can almost turn into like a paranoia to make sure you're not being disillusioned by people.
Or it's a serious case of projection.
Yeah,
when you recognize like your issues in someone else, you get very mad at that person's issues.
Yeah. And Neptune and 7 can also have very idealized versions of relationships and how perfect everything should be and all always harmonious and lovely and flowers.
Nothing ever goes wrong in relationships.
No.
Once you attain that unattainable person and make them love you like your father never did, everything is fine.
If you do have Neptune in 7th house in our generation, it's going to be in Capricorn. Yeah. So it's going to be oddly competing against itself. Like there's going to be like, no, romance was completely broken from a young age from me, but also like, romance?
It's perfect.
Like I know I'm delusional, but I'm still going to choose to be.
I need to get that tattooed on my body.
I almost feel like it's not my fault I'm delusional. Like I'm trying my best to not be, and I still am. But on to our last planet, which is Pluto.
Thank God we don't have this one in here.
Yeah, no, seriously. If there's one thing that I'm thankful more than any other planet, as much as I hate having my sun in there, I don't want fucking Pluto in my 7th house because just corrupt and abusive relationships.
But hey, guess
power
what?
struggles.
Guess what? This is transiting our 7th house.
I know, it is. Manipulation. You're somebody who's like, I don't get jealous. I don't really need power. Like, it's okay that I'm below everybody. Like, I really don't mind. You might get to that point. I'm not saying that this is true. I'm saying this is what you're gonna think when before you've entered into any big relationship and you're maybe in your teens or something. You know, nobody's gonna be on top power-wise. I am just say it like it is. Da 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 da. And then when you find you get into a relationship, you attract these like crazy people and these really paranoid people. Like, they may be very paranoid of you and very distrusting of you, and you find that people don't trust you, and you're like, why wouldn't people trust me? I'm the most like trusting person. And they can just bring out your Pluto and show it to you, and you're like, and they can ignite this kind of craziness in you that you may think like, I'm not crazy, it's just my ex that brought it out in me.
Yeah.
And that's true. You were probably only crazy with your ex, but that's coming from you too, you know?
And also your power was invalidated.
Oh yeah.
You were never someone who really felt like you asserted a lot of power, demanded a lot of respect, and then that's the thing. You get into a relationship with someone who now holds you at a very high pedestal. They're affirming your power.
Yeah, and that's big. They hold your kind of secret. They hold that inner deep demon in you.
And they see you as so powerful, but at the same time, they're trying to control that power of you. And it can be flattering. That's the thing. it's cute for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
When someone is jealous and possessive of you, it's flattering for 3 seconds. It's cute for 3 seconds. It shows how much they care about you for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it gets fucking annoying.
Yeah.
It gets toxic. It gets horrible.
You can have a lot of people that are very possessive of you. Also, a perfect example of this, the whole power thing, is my younger cousin has this, and my older cousin is a big personality, and he kind of always had to get what he wanted. So from a young age, my younger cousin always had to give the power to my older cousin, who has Pluto in the first house, because he was constantly taking the power. He needed what he needed, and then the younger cousin's going to constantly be invalidated. And when he was younger, I'd see him fight with it a little bit. He'd go, no, I want this, no, I want this, and finally he'd give in, and he'd let the older one get it. And recently he came over, and he's not like that at all. He literally was just like, you already just do it. Like, there was a gift, and it was their gift to open together. And before they even said anything, the older cousin just grabbed it and started opening it. And he was like, oh, do you want to open it? And he was literally just like, you're already ripping halfway into it. Don't even. Like, and that's so Pluto in the 7th house, that defeated power of like, I don't even want to fucking try anymore. So people will say that you have power issues or power struggles, and you'd be like, no, I don't.
But they show up in relationships.
It's one of those things where you were denied that so much. Like with one-on-one, when you finally get to choose that relationship and choose that partner, you're like, well, now I want it, because I never give it to anybody else. And in just this one situation, I just want some power. But that can get to be too much, so you might find that you might either pick somebody that you can completely dominate, so you can finally have that power over somebody, and you might abuse it because you've never had it before. So this can be somebody who is an abuser because they were abused. It's that classic Pluto thing. Every person that comes into your life is a transformative experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Nobody just comes in and out of your life. They change your whole being and your life course.
And you do get stronger. With Pluto, what does not kill you makes you stronger. As long as you're especially intentional about it, because it can also just destroy you and kill you.
Yeah.
But it can also have the huge potential to make you stronger, and you need to be very deliberate about finding the yin and the yang.
Our camera ran out of space.
Hey, you know what? I will not be ashamed of this, because this video is extra long because we had a lot to say.
It's extra good. It is extra insightful. So we need to say goodbye on my phone.
Thank you for watching. Please let us know how you felt about this video, because we have 7th house stelliums and we need to be validated. Let us know if we validated you. Even ask some questions, hey? And if you want the best chance of your question being answered, by reading.
Astrology course, Instagram. Yeah. We'll see you in the 8th house video.
Bye.